Here we go again.
Understand that from a historic perspective, from a systemic perspective, white America's hands are not clean. I get all of that. We talked about this with the affirmative action rule last week. We understand that. But in the end, what it comes down to is this: gun control or no gun control. Who the hell's pulling the trigger? And if you're so quick to pull it against one another, how the hell do we possibly have a future? These are our children's lives that are being taken away. Talk about teenagers.
You know, guys, I'm going to do something that I have not done here recently. You see, back when I first started on this platform, I would ask people to go ahead and hit the like button and go ahead and share and subscribe and stuff. The reason why is because, quite frankly, a lot of other YouTubers were doing that. Some of the bigger names were doing that. Then I realized that it doesn't really work to do that because obviously you've not done enough to earn said like button or subscription. And so I started doing it more towards the end of the video because I wanted you guys to actually see the body of work before you guys decide to make an actual decision. And obviously, if you're on this platform, you're going to get more viewers and subscribers a lot of times. A lot of times people won't actually, that are not subscribed to your channel will still watch your channel. And those, of course, that are subscribed, sometimes you don't get the notifications. I understand that. I'm asking you guys to hit the like button on this one right here because, quite frankly, I think it's time that somebody actually step up and explain to Stephen A. Smith why things are the way they are. So, yeah, guys, go ahead and hit that freaking like button so that way maybe he'll have me on his show one day and I can explain to him why it is that things are the way they are. So Stephen A., the other day, and of course this entire segment's been going viral for a while of talking about Stephen A. and him pointing out the fact that black-on-black crime is through the roof, but there's also other issues that, quite frankly, need to be discussed. As I have outlined in a previous video that I will leave in the description box to also go along with this full segment, I have said before that a certain ethnicity, however you might want to say it, because I speak kind of funny like that, is being replaced with another one. Yes, I have said that before, and I will continue to say that again. If you are black, you are currently being replaced, and of course the answers are pretty daggone obvious. If you look at what the hell is going on in some of America's liberal cities, especially with the massive migrant influx and all that stuff that's going on right now, quite frankly, you're being replaced. Now, why in the world would you be getting replaced? Well, maybe the question is how do they intend to replace you? How do they actually intend to do it? So this is what we're going to do. We're going to look at this bit by bit, and I'm going to respond like I normally do, talking about the issues. And, of course, I'm going to explain to you guys why it is that Stephen A. Smith can't seem to open his eyes to what the hell is going on. Let's go ahead and roll clip one.
Get away. Talk about teenagers. Talk about teenagers getting smoked while chilling at a block party. Chilling at a block party. It's just getting worse and worse and worse. And you have to pay attention to the numbers because the numbers are dwindling. And you have to pay attention to the numbers because what's going on in our society. Let me give you another stat because I want you to pay attention. Okay? I want you to pay attention. Because see, when you ain't, because there are black folks dying, but it's a double whammy. Because it's black folks dying at the hands of black people. And when black people are killing you, eventually they're going to get caught. And when they get caught, they're going to contribute to the 1.9 million incarceration rate that presently exists right now. How do I know this for sure? Did you know there's 1,566 state prisons in the country right now? Did you know there's 98 federal prisons in this country right now? Did you know that there's 3,116 local jails right now? Did you know that there's 1,323 juvenile correctional facilities? Who the hell do you think they're building it for? Do I have to direct you to the docuseries or the documentary that was 13 on Netflix, directed by Ava DuVernay? You want to go look it up. You can lament the history of this country and how systemic racism and prejudice and all of this other stuff played a role in how black folks and crimes were criminalized to such a degree because you know what? It was modern day slavery. Slavery, the eradication of it was supposed to take place in 1865, so they had to come up with a different way to throw us in jail. Yeah. All true.
Stephen A., right there. Black on black crime. Black people shooting one another. Let me ask you a question. What are the most violent cities in America? New York, St. Louis, Philadelphia, Detroit, Michigan, Chicago, definitely. Los Angeles, San Francisco. All these cities, by the way, are ran by Democrats. All these cities have got Democrat city councils. All these cities, by the way, have high amounts of poverty. By the way, I'm starting to agree with Sean Fitzgerald more and more and more about crime being the factor that drives poverty, not the other way around. I just figured I'd go ahead and throw that out there. So you've already got crime, of course, rampant, murder rate, all that type of stuff there. And, of course, Stephen A. Smith would eventually go on in this little segment to complain about the fact that gun rights were secured before anything else. And, of course, he'll talk about affirmative action and all that stuff there. And, of course, my response to him, and don't worry, we'll get to the affirmative action section of this right here. Did you ever think that maybe a change in leadership might be needed? That maybe if, I don't know, maybe if you actually allow people to arm themselves, then maybe they might be able to fight back against this fire. That, of course, includes black communities. As Dr. Carol Swain pointed out in the documentary that Dinesh D'Souza did on America, after the Civil War, blacks were denied gun rights. Why in the hell would that be the case? Well, see, blacks were freed. At that time, they were actually free. They were allowed to go. Of course, some began to thrive. Some cases were pretty good. And of course, there were even some Union soldiers that, for whatever reason, decided to come back to the South. This even occurred up north. And next thing you know, they would get lynched. They were told they couldn't have their firearms. Don't you think maybe a firearm could have been useful then? Don't you think maybe that firearms could be useful today in these cities, in these inner black areas? Don't you think that maybe it might be useful to protect them against the people who are trying to kill them? Because obviously, the people who are pulling the trigger are obviously of much, much lower value, much, much lower morality to those that they are trying to rob and steal and try to end their lives, maybe. Did you ever think about that? Did you think maybe that is the problem? Did you ever think that maybe the crime rate, did you ever think maybe the murdering rate, maybe the fact that they're offering themselves off in record numbers is actually by design? That maybe Democrats, in fact, do want to actually replace them, as I brought up before with the immigration issue. All these migrants who, quite frankly, most of them don't speak English, are about to get citywide benefits, jobs, being housed in other people's homes, all that type of stuff there. Did you ever think that maybe because, and by the way, Stephen A., you yourself even mentioned it, that the black population actually shrunk in size. Whites shrunk in percentage, but not in actual size. But black people shrunk in size and overall population last year. Do you think that maybe that you are being, in fact, replaced? You think maybe that there might be what's going on? Do you think maybe it's all by design to do that? Did you just possibly think about that? Maybe a change in leadership is needed. Let's keep going.
Nothing false about it, but completely irrelevant when it comes to us shooting one another. What that got to do with a black person pulling out a gun and willing to shoot into a crowd filled with minorities, filled with people who look like them, that share their hue, their pigmentation, their cultural identity, and everything else in between? What that got to do with it? You gonna call it out or not? Because society's coming. Have you been paying attention? Have you been paying attention? Just last week, we sat on this show and we talked about the rulings by the Supreme Court to eradicate race as a consideration from college admissions.
Yeah, those rulings. Yeah, I really dropped the ball when it comes to the whole affirmative action and college ruling, getting dropped. But we'll talk a lot more about that in a second when we get this next clip. But I want to go ahead and respond to this one right here first, because it does in fact go back to the gun. Did you think that maybe if these liberal ran cities, these inner cities have got a lot of black neighborhoods? I say inner black cities because there are oftentimes cities within cities, oftentimes neighborhoods within neighborhoods. I keep thinking to myself that maybe if people were strapped, if people were legally allowed to arm themselves, that after a while a few incidents would occur where self-defense would obviously come into play. And obviously the criminals would know that they cannot get away with the amount of nonsense that they do in fact get away with in these liberal ran cities, which, by the way, as I've said before, by design is designed to replace you. And one of the ways that they would in fact replace you is that they would allow the rampant black on black crime to occur, especially the black on black murders. I'm just saying what it is. Let's go ahead and watch.
Nothing false about it, but completely irrelevant when it comes to us shooting one another. What that got to do with a black person pulling out a gun and willing to shoot into a crowd filled with minorities, filled with people who look like them, that share their hue, their pigmentation, their cultural identity, and everything else in between? What that got to do with it? You gonna call it out or not? Because society's coming. Have you been paying attention? Have you been paying attention? Just last week, we sat on this show and we talked about the rulings by the Supreme Court to eradicate race as a consideration from college admissions. Obviously, the lessening and the leniency as it pertains to the gun laws contributed to that. So even in states with the strictest gun laws, California, New Jersey, Connecticut, Hawaii, Illinois, Maryland, Massachusetts, and New York, you go elsewhere. There's 26 states right now. That's what they did last year. This year, in a span of days, they addressed affirmative action. They elevated the religious rights of folks with the woman who didn't want to serve a gay couple. I forgot whether it was with a cake or something for their celebration. She didn't want to do it. And she earned the right to do it through the Supreme Court. What do you think is next? Ever heard of diversity, equity, and inclusion? It's called DEI. You ever heard of that? If you haven't, you should. You know why? Because before it was college admissions. But now within the same ruling, you're going to have a situation where corporations, particularly those that employ 15 or more people, can be under the same rules as public institutions. The rulings by the Supreme Court to eradicate race as a consideration from college admissions. People are up in arms about that. And I'm like, you ain't see that coming? You see that coming? Yeah, no, I did. That was coming. Clarence Thomas didn't hit that last year, didn't flat out state last year that he was coming for that? That the state Supreme Court was coming to address all of those things. Last year it was Roe v. Wade. Women's right to choose, gone. Oh, gun control. We're going to alleviate those concerns. We're going to loosen those gun restrictions. So much so that when you look at states by state right now, you're talking about constitutional carry states. That means you have the right to carry concealed weapons without even a permit. Do you know there's now 26 states that have that license? Let me read them to you. Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, Georgia, Idaho, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Maine, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, New Hampshire, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Vermont, West Virginia, Wyoming, and just this past Friday, Florida, the state of Governor Ron DeSantis. You now don't need a permit to carry a concealed weapon.
Thank God they secured gun rights so that way people can defend themselves. Look, Stephen A. Smith, you voted for Joe Biden. The 1994 crime bill didn't really do anything to deter crime. It really didn't. I mean, it locked up a bunch of people, but then next thing you know, crime continued to go on. Also, other things, too, that need to be mentioned. And this right here, like I said, was getting back to affirmative action. Do you think that maybe a certain stigma comes with affirmative action? I mean, what was it? Ketanji Brown Jackson, she was complaining about the ruling, yet she was actually an affirmative action hire. Did you think that maybe the current Transportation Secretary, Pete Buttigieg, a gay white man, of course he is obviously an affirmative action hire, Karine Jean-Pierre, the current press secretary of the United States, she is absolutely horrible at her job. But once again, though, she was also a affirmative action hire. The thing about affirmative action hires, which, by the way, we haven't even gotten to the job site yet. We really and truly haven't. We're just going to the college. The thing about that is that it oftentimes comes with some form of stigma. You know, it's not just about having a job. It's about getting along at the job. It's about being able to navigate that job. And, of course, in college, too, when you lower the overall standards, it just means that we get a lot of people that are not actually cut out for the job, very much underqualified. I mean, I think the last thing I would want is a doctor who does not understand basic medicine. I don't think I would want that. And if anything, you're actually doing more to harm black people by reputation with that, and you're also doing more to harm other races. I mean, the whole Stop Asian Hate campaign was actually serious. It didn't go on very long because of what was going on in San Francisco and California, where apparently there was a lot of black on Asian crime. But of course, Asians were the most affected by the affirmative action ruling because they tended to have the higher scores when it comes to testing and getting into these places. Some of these institutions, by the way, like Harvard and Yale, are going to continue this practice. As I've said before, obviously affirmative action, especially in colleges, is especially a horrible idea because, like I said, the only thing you're doing is wasting time and effort on people who probably don't need to go to college to begin with. Maybe you're better off as a carpenter. Maybe you're better off working construction. Maybe you're better off doing another job. I mean, it's not just about making money. It's about creating a safe, secure, stable environment. It's also about saving that money, putting that money away, which, by the way, black people oftentimes tend to be the most impoverished. What the hell do you think could be causing this? Well, I want you to think about this really quick. Kid applies to school, black kid, can't meet the basic requirements. So school, of course, has got affirmative action. So you let that kid in. That kid goes to school for a semester or two, fails out of college. Next thing you know, that kid is right back home going into what the hell he was into before. Some people, not everybody is cut out for college. It's just the way that it is. And something else too, and I want to go ahead and transition into this one right here. The religious rights thing. I want you to talk. I want you to think about this pretty quick. A while back, there was this lady who had a bakery. I think it was in the state of Colorado. I could be wrong, but I think it was the state of Colorado. I'm going completely off the cuff here. A gay couple went in there and demanded that she make them a wedding cake or birthday cake, something like that. This person said, no, it goes against my religious beliefs. So they made a great big giant stink of it. Once again, it's that letter mafia demanding a bunch of rights that, quite frankly, they already have. And somebody said, no, I'm not going to do this. It's against my religion. Which, by the way, it's always Christians that find a way to get attacked. I mean, atheists, for the most part, spend 99% of their attack lines on Christians. They never go after anybody else. It makes me wonder if they really and truly are without belief in God. That maybe, I think it's more of a hatred for God is what it is, but, I'll digress for the time being. Fact of the matter is that they actually secured your right there, too, because last I checked, black people didn't exactly care for gays or the homosexual lifestyle. I just figured I would throw that out there. Another case that I think Stephen A. brought up, or he may bring up again, which, by the way, I'll bring up again later on this video, is the whole overturning of Roe v. Wade. Now, really quick, when they overturned Roe v. Wade, basically what they did was they sent the issue back to states. I mean, you don't have a constitutional right to an abortion. I don't care. It's not written into the Constitution. I can kill my baby. I can kill my child. By the way, in some of these states, Stephen A., some of these states are pretty blue, like New York, Illinois, California, Colorado. Denver hasn't really had that high of a black population, but still, though, so does Illinois with Chicago. So does Maryland with Baltimore. Missouri, obviously, is a red state, but you have St. Louis there, as I mentioned before. Very very blue leadership in these areas. And they have abortion laws pretty much all the way up to the moment of birth, which is pretty much infanticide. The black abortion rate at this moment in time is through the roof. Did you think that with abortion, immigration, and did you also think with black-on-black murder that maybe it was possible you might be getting replaced? And what about black diseases? I mean, last I checked, black people were more susceptible to heart problems, blood pressure issues, high cholesterol, all that type of stuff. Very odd, too, especially given the fact that you're in these areas that, quite frankly, are impoverished, where the crime is driving the poverty. These people have got less money. So what do? Maybe you get desperate. Maybe you have to steal. Next thing you know, you're arrested. You're locked up. You're put away. You brought up the 13. By the way, the 13 was the subject of a project in my sociology class. I had a lib who was in charge of that class, and I wrote a piece on that, which most instructors told me after reading it I should have gotten roughly an A, probably like a 90, 91, 92. Somewhere that I got like a 78, something like that. Maybe the gap wasn't that high, but then again, though, I did resubmit it. Of course, when I resubmitted, I didn't change a single thing. I actually doubled down, and somehow or another I got an 88. But of course, she had also given me those little notes saying that I was missing the picture that people were being locked up against their will. Of course, I went back and provided some additional statistics, crime data, all that type of stuff right there, and eventually the person was swayed. But that doesn't mean that girl was not exactly a lib. She was, and she also used to dress kind of gaudy in class or whatnot. Good dude spent more time checking out her rear than they did trying to learn. I ain't gonna lie to you, though. She had a great body. But still, at the same time, though, just getting back on topic here. Here's the deal. Stephen A lot of these policies, a lot of these things that you've been complaining about, a lot of these are controlled in in very blue Democrat cities, very blue areas. They've been trying to eradicate you. They've been trying to get rid of you this entire time. You are, in fact, being replaced. I mean, I wish somebody could actually tell him this and explain, oh, wait, that's right. I asked you guys to hit the like button so that way I could, in fact, maybe get near him to kind of break things down for him. I need your help. I mean, hey, guys, we got to keep hearing the parrot continue to run his mouth. We got to hear that squawk box run his mouth about that. Look, Stephen A., if you really and truly are passionate about this, man, maybe what you should do is bring somebody. I mean, it ain't got to be me. I obviously would prefer it would be me because I've been watching Stephen A. Smith for years and I know every single one of his debate tactics. And I find that the best thing you can do when he gets loud is just laugh at him because it just triggers him more and he sounds more and more incoherent. I'd still love to get a chance though, so make sure you guys make sure this video goes viral. Guys, really quick, the point I want to make about this is that, dude, if you really and truly are that concerned about it, maybe you should bring one of the many black influencers from YouTube who know what the hell they're talking about besides me. Those guys who know a good deal, but obviously a little bit less than me. I'm pretty sure that they would absolutely slaughter you. You got a lot of them out there. The Officer Brandon Tatum is great. Who am I kidding? These people are all better than me. Okay, don't take that serious. Okay, I'm just joking. But still, though, you got the Officer Brandon Tatum. You got Greg Foreman, Black Conservative Perspective. Hotep Jesus is pretty good on this. You got a lot of people here on this platform that are personalities that, quite frankly, could go and have a sit down and a discussion with Stephen A. Smith and actually get these numbers across him. I mean, it's amazing to me that he did not bring this topic up when he talked to Clay Travis. But then again, at the same time, though, what the hell do I know? I'm just a guy sitting in front of my phone with a microphone and, of course, obviously a one of those ring light things that you use to vlog with. Guys, John Claymore here. If you guys like this content, please hit the like button, subscribe, share the video. If you feel like I have earned your subscription, please hit that subscribe button, hit the notifications bell, sound off in the comment section. I would love to get you guys' thoughts on this, and I'll see you guys later.